Welcome to the Resource Podcast, where we take a slightly sassy, fully feminist approach to creating healthy relationships and a joyful life. I'm your host, Tatiana Thompson, and I'm a licensed professional counselor practicing in both Arizona and Minnesota. I specialize in applying clinically proven techniques like EMDR, parts work, and neural reprogramming to help you see real, lasting change in your everyday life. Just remember, I am a licensed therapist, but I'm not your therapist. This show is for informational purposes only, and it's not a replacement for seeking personal mental health or medical advice. So join me now as we explore simple strategies for breaking toxic relationship patterns and applying simple mental health tools to your daily life. Learn how to take the small steps today that will guide you to your best life tomorrow. Hello and welcome to the Resourced Podcast, the show that invites you to question everything you thought you knew about relationships and mental health so you can finally break through your stuck points and create the life you've always wanted. I'm your host, Tatiana, and I'm on a mission to help 1,000 women become emotionally and financially independent so they can choose a relationship instead of needing one. And today I want to talk about a topic that is near and dear to my heart. It is about people-pleasing and its nemesis, selfishness. So, just so you know, I might take a surprise opinion on this. So let's get started. As we've covered in another episode, women tend to face an uphill battle on the topic of selfishness. We're trained almost immediately to center other people's needs in order to be likable. And I know you know what I'm talking about. We're rejected for taking up too much space or having needs or expectations. Not only are women taught to be of service to others, but we're also taught that putting our own needs first is actually selfish, and so we're rejected for that. We're taught that good women look out for others and help others before themselves. And that's not to say that we don't want to help other people, but we also never get taught about the part that we shouldn't be helping others at our own expense. Why are we helping others at our own expense? That's the problem. It doesn't mean we don't want to be helpful, but why do we have to harm ourselves in order to do it or suppress what we need as well? We believe that our feelings and needs and desires have to come last with all of this programming that we get. And as soon as everyone else is good, as soon as their needs are met, okay, now I can start working on meeting my own needs. But this pattern has two major flaws that keep us perpetually stuck. First one is, I'm so busy taking care of others that I rarely even have the energy to meet my own needs or even have time to work on my goals when I'm done meeting everybody else's needs, right? And then the second one is, why am I left to meet my own needs alone when everyone else has benefited from my assistance on theirs? And I got to tell you, that one gets me fired up. It's the irony of people calling you selfish when they're actually extracting from you and being selfish themselves, right? So we see how problematic this is and how it becomes a zero-sum game for women. And let me just state one thing. This is not a dynamic that only women face. Any person can be raised to be a people pleaser and put others first, and it is always problematic. It's just there's a lot more systemic pressure for women to orient this way to be acceptable in society. So again, I'm going to say women a lot in this, but I'm talking about anyone who's been trained to be a people pleaser. All right. So we can see then how women get stuck on this pendulum and they swing between the only two options they've been given. I'm either going to be a people pleaser or I'm going to be selfish. And that sucks. Either I can martyr myself or I can be a jerk. Are you kidding me? Like, I don't want to be there. That sucks on either end. So in the end, though, being the woman that I want to be and I want to be accepted, I'm really more likely to choose being a people pleaser. And I think we could agree that most of us do that. It's another way of saying that we feel pressure to martyr ourselves for the benefit of others. So let me just take a moment now to talk about the reason that people pleasing and martyring yourself, which are kind of one and the same, are really not all they're cracked up to be. We think that they actually are better than being selfish, but they're actually really problematic. The first reason is enormous. Being a people pleaser is associated with numerous diseases and mental health disorders. So there's been research that started back in the 1980s. Yes, I know I only said the 1980s. It should be much further back, but it's not. But women account for 80% of autoimmune disorders, and multiple studies have linked patterns of people-pleasing with increased risk of all kinds of things: depression, eating disorders, carotid atherosclerosis, I can't even say it, death after a heart attack, irritable bowel syndrome, HIV, chronic fatigue, and cancer. And all of this data comes from very large sample sizes, sometimes meta-analyses of these other studies. And after controlling for other socioeconomic and health factors, they still found this. The researchers have connected all of these increased risks with gender programming that leads to personality traits like self-silencing, people-pleasing, and being in perpetual service of others. And many of you have probably heard of the psychiatrist Dr. Gabor Mate. He's done a lot of great work in the field recently. He wrote an entire book on this phenomenon called When the Body Says No, in which he analyzes research showing that women who are people-pleasing are significantly more likely to develop diseases like, and they're usually autoimmune diseases, but not always, but things like multiple sclerosis, IBS, like I mentioned earlier, and even women who suppress their anger are more likely to develop breast cancer. Again, these are significantly different changes, not just a small number. Beyond that, we have enough evidence, like longitudinal evidence, that trauma and conditioning can have concrete effects on our health outcomes throughout our entire lifespan. They can even lead to early death. And some of these studies that I've already mentioned do refer to the fact that women are more likely to die compared to their counterparts who are not people-pleasing. The evidence we have about the effect of long-term trauma and personality traits is the Adverse Childhood Events Study, also called the ACEs study, that you've probably heard of. It was conducted on 17,000 adults, so this is not a small number. And I'm pretty sure there's still demographic work going on it, because I know as a therapist, I give clients an ACEs study, and I'm pretty sure that that's still being analyzed. So this study was done between 1995 and 1997, and it shows direct correlations between the number of negative events a person experienced in childhood and then long-term health problems. So let's say that a different way. The more of these adverse events you experienced as a child, say they were witnessing abuse, having a parent with a substance abuse issue, having a parent in jail, being hit yourself, being manipulated, the more likely you had, the more of those that you experienced, the more likely you are to have negative health outcomes as an adult, such as obesity, asthma, heart attacks, suicide attempts. And generally, you are more likely to die earlier than your counterparts who don't have that number. And it's a direct correlation. The more, it's a dose response effect. The more events you have, the more health outcome issues you have. So I know this research, the ACEs study, is not about people-pleasing per se, but it is evidence that people who went through those events are also statistically more likely to be people-pleasers because of the volatility of their childhood. And it's simply more evidence that our chronic exposure to stress and sublimation of pain does have a measurable impact on our bodies and our mortality. So I hope that these data points are enough to demonstrate that people-pleasing is actually harmful to your health in the long run. That's the number one reason why people-pleasing isn't great for you. The second reason that it's not everything it's cracked up to be is it actually makes the people you're serving resent you, which I know is mind-boggling, right? You're just like, wait, I'm helping you at my own expense and you're going to resent me. But here's the reason why this can backfire on you. When you do things for people that they can do for themselves, or they should, you're actually saying you don't think they can do this for themselves. You're actually like kind of letting them know that you think they're not fully competent. And then you combine that with the sense of entitlement that they gradually develop by having you in service of them. And now you've got a person who sees you as a tool and nothing more, and gets annoyed at you when they encounter discomfort in their lives. I know this is all crazy, but it's actually based on their own discomfort at relying on you and feeling inadequate. But that is actually deeply subconscious. So at the end of the day, all they're clocking is that they feel uncomfortable, and it must be your fault. So it's funny, we're in service of these people, but they actually start to resent us in the long run. I bet many of you have experienced that. Okay, final reason that people-pleasing is really not all it's cracked up to be is, let's drum roll this one, please. It's actually a completely selfish act. I know, crazy, right? I'm serving other people and it's selfish. We thought we were doing the opposite of selfish, right? Okay. The sad truth is both being selfish and people-pleasing is a form of selfishness. Here's why. People-pleasing is all about making other people happy so that they might make you happy enough. They might be happy enough with you to keep you around, or maybe even want to meet some of your needs. If you want more on this breakdown, go check out the episode I did on codependency. It's a really fun one, and it really breaks down why this is truly a selfish act. Let me just put the disclaimer out there. I know you're not trying to be selfish when you're people-pleasing, but at the end of the day, it is self-serving. What it's doing is it's saying, I'm putting myself in service of you with the hopes that you'll give me some of the attention or stability that I'm seeking. So, all of this to say, if people-pleasing and being selfish are both actually selfish, what are the better options? We've only been giving these two options, right? I can be a people pleaser or I can be selfish. If you find this content helpful, please consider leaving a review or share the episode with a friend. I have a fundamental belief that individual healing is what heals the world. The more you share, the more we can grow, and the more people we can reach with our mission to heal the world, one person at a time. The option here is to get off this pendulum altogether and move into a state of being self-interested. Self-interested means that I make sure that I am responsible for meeting my core needs, but I also want to contribute to the greater good. So being self-interested can look like both of these extremes. So for example, it can seem like you may be being selfish because in this state of being self-interested, I make sure my needs get met. And I generally do this before worrying about helping other people. It's the whole oxygen mask first, right? But this distinction from being selfish is that I don't use or harm others to get my needs met. That's what selfishness is I'm going to climb on your back to get my needs met. I'm going to prioritize myself over you. Self-interested means I'm going to prioritize myself and you prioritize yourself. So maybe I want to become financially independent. In the case of self-interested, I budget and I save my money and my income over many years, right? In the case of being selfish, I might try to cheat others or the system to get there faster. Again, I'm willing to harm others to get there and not consider their needs in order to get what I want. Here's a way that being self-interested can look like people-pleasing, because in both cases, I really want to contribute to the greater good and help others. But the distinction here is that in self-interested states, I only help others when doing so doesn't cause me harm or resentment, and I've already made sure my own cup is full. So that could look like helping your friend move, but explaining that you can only hop on a day when you're not scheduled to work, therefore not missing out on your own wages. The other option that's like the people pleaser would be, oh, sure, I can help you on Thursday, even though I need to make money that day and now I'm going to have to call out of work. That means I'm harming myself and I'm not making sure my cup is full first. But again, in both cases, I want to help my friend and I will usually find a way to do so. Okay, I hope this helps you understand the difference between being self-interested versus being a people pleaser and being selfish. Let's do a quick summary of the highlights here. Women are trained right out of the gate to be people-pleasing, self-sacrificing, and self-silencing. And this can lead to significant physical and mental health problems over time. Again, I want to stress that this isn't limited to just women, but it's more prevalent in people who are raised as female due to cultural and gender programming. And women believe that their only options they have are to be selfish or to be seen as selfish if they're going to be self-interested, right? That's the final thing I want to caution you on here. When you move into a balanced state of being self-interested, you may feel like you're being selfish, but you're not, okay? Let me also give a little caveat. There are times when our cup is not full, but we have to be in attendance to our children or people who are truly dependent on us. Now, I do want you to be self-interested enough that you're not martyring yourself for that. You're not doing for them when you should be feeding yourself first or making sure that you're taking care of your health. But yes, there are going to be times when people who are technically dependent on us, we cannot fill our own cup first. We have to be in service first. But big picture, we need to be in service of ourselves first. But when you are not used to doing that, you are going to feel selfish up front. And you're going to also find that there are going to be people who view you as being selfish. But I want to remind you of this. that the people who may label your behavior as selfish are just products of this programming, and they're still drinking the Kool-Aid. You don't have to drink the Kool-Aid anymore. They're probably not going to be your people long term, okay? So you're going to need to let that go. You're going to need to let go of the desire to make everyone think that you're spectacular and so, selfless. Don't be selfless. Be self-interested. So choose yourself over their opinions because you've got this one life, lady. And I want you to stop chasing other people's opinions. And I want you to start choosing yourself and the life you want and deserve. Thank you so much for joining me today on the Resourced Podcast. My hope is that you learned at least one practical tool you can apply to your life today to move in the direction of your dreams. If you found this content helpful, be sure to hit the subscribe button, leave a review, and consider subscribing to my email list, which is linked in the show notes. And remember, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. What step will you take today?